Dave Brown, the Trade Union and Socialist Coalition, why should Harlow, and here we are in Stapleside tonight, why should Harlow have you as their MP?
Well, I was born in Harlow and I grew up in Harlow, from a working class family that moved out of London, out the slum areas into a beautiful council house, into a beautiful town with green spaces, all public facilities, cheap leisure services, everything we could wish for. And as I've grown up, I've seen that taken away bit by bit by bit by successive governments and councils in the pockets of successive governments. It's been a real tragedy. The reduced price sports centre that's now private housing, the reduced price swimming pool that's now private housing, and the list goes on and on and on. And we're saying enough's enough as TUS supporters. We want to bring back council housing, affordable council housing, we want to protect our green spaces, and we want to stop the £30 billion of cuts that are coming to us and every other town up and down the country this year.
If I said this, and it's not about negative campaigning, but can we just say that we've already got a candidate going to be doing that, and that's called the Labour candidate. Is that not correct?
That's not correct, no. The Labour Party's cuts will come, just not as quickly, but that's a promise. That's a promise from the Labour Party and from us. We're the only party that opposes all cuts.
Why?
Why do we oppose all cuts? Because these cuts are cuts on the poor and the most vulnerable. These are cuts to everything we hold dearly. You know, these are our fire people, these are our ambulance crews, these are our youth workers. This is a cut on us, imposed by the banks because they spend all of our money.
Do you go by the theory that, you know, there were people living in Arkansas being sold houses that they can't afford, and because of that almost a tsunami of debt came across to us? It's not, when people say, oh, it's the Robert Halfon will say it was Labour's fault, but you think it's a capitalist.
I don't lay the blame solely on Labour. I lay the blame on capitalism and all the parties, the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, the Condemns, and previous parties that have supported capitalism. They've supported the banks, they've supported the rich, and it's time for people like us, ordinary people, to get a voice and say enough is enough, and return to a socialist ideal where there's a fairer society and it's not about making money, getting rich.
When I was a kid growing up in Harlow, you know, Stan Newens was the MP and people around him, and if you read Stan, he was very much a socialist MP. Do you think Labour's gone away from that?
I think Labour has gone away from that, but I think the word socialism has been used by the Labour Party for far too long. I mean, soon after the war, after the Labour Party socialist government got in, built houses, built the National Health Service, from then on they were attacked by the press, by the greedy rich banks and by the very rich, and since then socialism's been buried, unfortunately, and it's coming to the surface again. I think these ideals are gaining ground, and we're showing people that you can do it. You can stand up there, ordinary people, and say no to this, no to capitalism.
Who are your political heroes?
My political heroes are from the past, really. They would have been part of the Labour Party, the people that I grew up with, because I didn't know any different at the time, but they would have been Tony Benn would have been my first political hero. And then I've got political heroes from abroad like Nelson Mandela, because he's an inspiration to ordinary people, just to show what you can do. If you believe it, you can do it, and we can make change.
And is there any political system around the world that you look at the moment and think, I think they've got it right or nearly got it right?
Sadly, I don't. Sadly, I think it's a very capitalist world. It's very structured around greed and money. There are some countries that fare better, but I think we've got a long way to go. And the thing is with socialism is it needs to be global and international, because we need to support workers everywhere in the world. Otherwise, we're going to have a race to the bottom. We're going to be bringing over migrant workers on cheap money because capitalism's affected their countries more than ours.
What type of reaction are you getting out on the street?
I'm getting quite a good reaction out on the street. But the enormity of the £30 billion of cuts that's going to be inflicted on us, I think some people are having trouble to grasp that kind of figure and realise how it's going to devastate this country and us globally.
So you think over the next 5 years, whoever gets in, if you think Princess Alexandra is bad now, if you think your doctor's surgery is bad now, if you think your service from your police service is bad now, you think you ain't seen nothing yet?
I do believe that. We haven't seen anything yet, and it's just the beginning. We've had austerity measures in the past few years, and we've got 30 billion this year, and if they get away with that, the parties, I think they'll go on and on and on till we got nothing left.
What will you gauge on May the 8th, or the morning of May the 8th? What will you gauge as success?
What will I gauge as success is, excuse me, tongue-tied, as success is the fact that 135 of us, Tusk prospective parliamentary MPs, stood up, ordinary people, got our voice on the telly, got our voice out there, and shown ordinary people that if collectively, if we stand together, we can beat austerity and beat capitalism.
Dave Brown, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.